Hello everyone, it's Mitch here, and today I'll be starting up a new series where essentially every week or so I'll be going onto a track, and with save states I'm going to be explaining everything I know about the track in terms of how to drive it fast, how to take each turn, and my main aim with this is to help people improve and get better at these tracks. I just thought that, a lot of people, there aren't many resources nowadays for MKW time trials, so I figured this can be my way of, without sacrificing too much time and effort, I can try help the community, and yeah, we'll see how it goes from there. So first track, I'm going to be planning to do this on a weekly basis, and I'm going to start off with my best tracks, the tracks I'm most best on, and the tracks I know the most about on. So I figured might as well start off on Sherbet land, so without further ado, we will be using MKW. It has save states, and it's overall pretty good. It's pretty good. So hop right in, and we'll start. This is all going to be in one take. It's going to be a long video, but I hope it's insightful, and I hope you can learn something from it at any level. So start off, first turn, on Sherbet land, you're going to be wanting to do either a start slide or no start slide. So one of the start slide options you can do is to just do neutral, and then when the race begins, you just hold A and tap right. And there you want to have an angle that's as close as possible to this iceberg along this polygon right here. However, the one that I like to do, and the one that I notice a lot of other players like to do, because it's more comfortable for, just depends on what you like, is to do a rear line at the start. You can also see over the input display on the left. So it's simply just a wheelie and a tap right, and then you hold hard right while the countdown goes, and then you go, same alignment. You want to try and aim as far right as this polygon, because if you're too far left on this first turn, if you're angled like this, you're not going to be able to bounce over the crack well enough. So you want to have a somewhat wide alignment, and you're going to want to be going over the crack more from an angle like this. So I'll show what that looks like. So you can just look at the input display on the left and just visually wheelie tap right. So this wouldn't work, for example. Bluffed that a bit there, but this is an example of an angle that wouldn't work. You can notice I'm a lot more middle of the road compared to next to the iceberg, and if I were to actually attempt a first turn from here, I'm just going to wait for the penguins to move. You're going to see what's going to happen. This is what a lot of people struggle to understand about the first turn, is that you're going to get bad first turns. Now that wasn't horrible, but you can fail it very often if you try to take it tighter, and you can bounce a lot. So I'm going to try to get a good first turn here, and you can see what that looks like with this start slide method. There we go, that's good. Somewhat more like that. That was better. The way that I took the crack was a lot better. It's a lot more consistent. You're not going to bounce as much, and the risk of falling off is pretty much zero. I'm going to do one more. It's a good thing that SP has very fast resets. So this is fine. And that's the first time pretty much. In terms of the TF input, you want to do it. So in case you didn't know, I'm assuming most of you watching this know, but on the first turn, to the way you drive over the ice, you want to do a TF input over it. So it's just a way of not falling off, because if you hold hard left, you're going to fall off. So you want to be holding hard left right before you launch off, maybe a little bit after. You snap hard right on the analog, and then when you land, you go back to snapping hard left. So I'll do an example of the first turn here, and pay attention to when I snap left. We're going to go from back here, in fact. So we'll go from here. Pretend it's a lap transition. I'm going to do something like this, and just look at the TF input there. My thumb actually slipped off the analog there. Sorry about that. But essentially, you want to start snapping a little bit when you go off the ice. And then you're going to hold hard left again when you're back on the ice. I'm going to wait for the penguins to move. So hard left, right, left. Like that. Now the alignment out of this first turn, you're going to want to be as close to this iceberg as possible. That one in the distance, the one that I'm aiming towards, because it's going to help your angle for the cut a lot. And you're going to be able to angle effectively and cut a lot of the cut. So I'm going to show you a few things, a few scenarios you can get out of the first turn. So I'm just going to save state here. So, for example, you can have this angle, which is ideal, being right next to the iceberg like this, kind of riding this polygon right here. And what that'll allow you to do is it sets you up perfectly to do, it's kind of like a, I'm not sure if you want to call it like a double spin drift hop method, or it's basically a flow of inputs that helps you get this cut very consistently, very often. So riding along this polygon to any degree, it doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. Perfect isn't even the fastest, but being close, and even when you're like aligned like this, it is necessary to wheelie turn. You want to do a wheelie turn. So even if you have a wide angle like this, you're not going to be able to save it unless you just go for a wacky cut that doesn't have consistency, so you're probably going to want to tap right. So I'm just going to shroom here, save a state, and this alignment's fine. So what you want to do from here is you want to do a spin drift hop. So it's not like a regular spin drift where you're holding drift the entire time and you actually perform a drift. It's a spin hop essentially. So you're going to go right, left in the analog and wheelie. Might be a little bit to process at first, but there are a fair amount of these on other tracks like Toad's Factory Stompers, for example. So it's a simple right, left on the analog, like that. Just like that. And one thing you might notice is that I'm aiming to hop and land about here on the iceberg. So you can notice here again, that was a little bit worse. The save state is a little bit wacky, but it's the best we can do right now. I actually don't like this angle, so I'm going to aim a little bit further right. So I am here, save state. This is better. And then you just kind of want to spin drift. So you're almost spin drifting like next to the iceberg. See, I'm landing next to the iceberg. Kind of about here is where I'd be landing, essentially. And then just wheeling. And then, yeah, right, left, and the analog wheelie. That's all there is to it. So now the cut. This cut's a little bit difficult for people to understand. If you watch water record inputs, it does a very specific setup. However, at lower level, depends what level you're at. It doesn't have to be perfect, of course, but this, I'll be showing you the best way to do the cut. Now, I'll admit, I'm not like world class or anything at this cut right here, but I do understand it to an extent. And yeah, like I said, just trying to help people that might struggle with it. So this is what the cut looks like. The way that I'll refer to it is kind of like two spin drifts and a hop. So this is what world record does. It is a spin drift free hop here, a spin drift alignment, and a left hop over it, just like that. That might be a little bit to take in at first, but I promise you with practice, this is very easy to nail. That was a bad example. There I had to do 3 spin drifts because I started this hop right here. I started this too early. So to compensate, if I were to hold hard left, I'd fall off. So I had to snap right on the analog to land back. But the most ideal scenario is spin drift, hop. Just like that. That was perfect. So with this spin drift, this one right here, after the realign, it just throws you tighter than drifting hard left. You might notice some people in a lot of their runs, they might do something kind of like this, I guess, and they might like even like, I've seen some people do like a wheelie here, which is not very good for your angle, because if you do a wheelie here, you're just getting thrown hell wide. The angle's not good. You're not maximizing the amount of track that you're driving. So main thing for this cut is kind of a rhythm. You might notice that the timing between those hops right there. So spin drift, hop. Or sorry, spin drift, and then spin drift. That's kind of the kind. Spin drift, spin drift, spin drift, spin drift, spin drift. Yeah, sometimes you can miss that wheelie. Spin drift, just like that. And when you land from this spin drift, you're going to want to use your shroom and then hop. So it's really hard to like do this without doing the entire thing. So I'm just going to try explain it as best as I can. Save state's being weird. It's just shroom and then hop. That is a very common fail, by the way. Missing the hop like that. You want to hop as late as possible. That's ideal. However, you can get away with hopping a little bit early. And you see I'm shrooming early like that. It throws off muscle memory. There's a very heavily based muscle memory cut. So the shroom timing and everything is very muscle memory based. So I'm just going to do a few examples. Take notes on what you'd like. Save states are really weird with off-road. That wasn't very good, and I'll explain why in a little bit. That was good. I'll do one more good one. Gonna I want to be tighter than that. Yeah, like this. That was really good. Okay, cool. Now, this is actually very underrated for how much time this saves. So what this is right here, this is the big straight wheelie alignment into the cave. So what's crucial about this is that when you execute the shroom, you're going to want to be almost falling off the track right here. So this iceberg, this like crack in the road, this is going to be your indicator for whether you got a good shroom or not. And also how tight you take it. I like to race a ghost, so that I use the ghost as reference. So with this alignment, you're going to see someone's even go over this iceberg, like this ice crack right here. And that's important because you can imagine if I'm going to do the cut like this, I'm going to intentionally go wide here. That was not planned, but got some weird momentum. Excuse me for 1 second. Kind of like this. I'm driving a lot more of the track essentially, when I could be cutting off a lot more. Like here, you can cut a lot more off the track. So your aim for this, like I'm pretty sure, like I've had some PBs that will literally do this. I'm just gonna try get it here. Like I'm gonna intentionally go for it. Like some PBs that'll just wheelie over that, because that's how it's just fast. You're driving less of the track, and yeah, it helps the chain as well. Now with the chain, it's really hard to do everything from a save state and then get it perfectly, but this chain has a very consistent timing. Now for those of you who spam, yeah, just press the D-pad, what can I say? But if you want to time this chain, it's got a very consistent, like, audio cue. This is one of my better chains, so I feel like I can explain it fairly well. It's kind of like a spear chain, so you might notice that different vehicles, the chain ends at different times, so it's going to have different audio cues. So if you have a spear chain, since your like a wheelie is, I'm pretty like, since it's longer, the wheelie's going to end at a different time, I believe. I'm not sure, but yeah, long story short, I don't really know, I'm just waffling, but long story short, spear timing, flame rider timing, mukbang timing, they're all different. This magi chain and all the other magi chains are pretty similar to spear timings, and you might notice that, oh wow, like I'm getting a lot of chains on LC or embassy, like chains are easier on spear, and you're not crazy for thinking that. It's because the visual time, the audio timing, I should say, is pretty consistent. So you're going to notice here, I'm just going to try time it here. I'm probably not going to get it, but you're going to want to pay attention to the audio, and you will notice I do have the game sounds turned off. So you can just listen to the bike audio, so no music. So I'm just going to do the cut and flow. I'll do it a few times, and you can try pick up on the chain sound. Now you might notice, I'm pretty sure I'm the only player that does this, but I do a little tap on the analog as a setup. I do this on some chains as well. It just helps with my timing. It's kind of a rhythm. So when I'm here for the chain, I might tap right and then wheelie. Like that's kind of my rhythm. So if you notice me doing that, you can do it if you'd like. Just a setup tap. That just helps. It helps me. It might help you. Maybe test it. Try experiment. But yeah. That was really bad. Usually you get an insta-wheelie off this, which has a different audio timing. Dude, I have not played Sherbet in a hot minute. I can tell from these chains. Okay. Sorry, I've been playing LC for the past 2 weeks. Please bear with me. I'm still trying to remember. I know how to do this, I swear. Like that. So it's a little bit after that swoosh ends. And that's kind of when I like to do my tap. Tap, wheelie. That was horrible. Dude, this is embarrassing. Kind of like that. I'm going to do it a few more times. And just pay attention to the audio. This is mainly audio cued. Let me try to get a proper cut as well. So spin drift, spin drift. That didn't cut off much, but it was fine. And it was bad because the timing was thrown off because I wheelied at a different time compared to an optimal cut. Wheelied a little bit later. Because the Shroom boost changes the audio cue. In fact, that's why the audio is different. That's why the audio is different on Spear and Flame. I was trying to think of the reason off the top of my head, because I said this is all one take. Nothing here is scripted. But that's why. It's because the empty boost. Whenever you're in an empty boost and a wheelie, like you might notice there, now it starts the swishes. So on Spear, you don't have much empty boost, so the swishes start a lot earlier. And they just happen to be easier to time. I'm a lot better on this with Shroomless. Alright. I reckon it's time to move on. I'm a lot better at this Shroomless timing. So with this trade right here, I'm just going to save state from back here, because this is an ideal alignment. You want to be very close to this crack. That's usually the alignment. Now with this chain right here, this chain is pretty important. There is a pretty big misconception that doing small nudges on the analog, like you see in my input viewer, while you're doing this wheelie is good. That's not good, and I'll explain why. Doing these little taps is not good. So, from what I've understood, I could be wrong on this, but from what I've heard and what I've seen, doing this chain with these taps are bad. So, let me just... Is there a way I can save state? Kind of okay, I guess this is timing. Fine. So, the reason why tapping is bad is because if you're tapping on any chain, that's less time you spend at full speed, compared to just holding a hard nudge. And then, well, okay, if I can get this chain, it's really difficult to do this with save states. I'm just back up to the full wheelie speed, essentially. So I don't have any of that nudge influence, because the thing is in MKW, no matter if you're wheeling, if you're tapping like this, I'm still losing time. So I can choose to make that time loss gradual, like this, by nudging like that. Or, instead, if I need to align right, I can just hard right it, kind of like that. And now I'm just back up to full speed. So I'm spending less time under the influence. So wheelie tilting like this, holding it like that, is the same as holding it like that. I'm losing the same amount of speed. So that's why, in my opinion, and from what I've seen in world record runs and other laps and everything, it's better to hold this chain out. And it's going to happen around the crack. It's really hard to do everything in a safe state, so I'm actually going to drive back. I'll actually reset. So, just, yeah, summarize everything we've done so far. Start slide, close to this iceberg, instant drift into this first turn. My thumbs lift off the analog. Wheelie tilt to get a good alignment, spin drift, hop. Yeah, dude, I suck at chains. So, it's a little bit different to Spear. From what I'm trying to remember, I'm actually just going to go back from this cut, since timing these chains are impossible without a setup. So it seems when the audio for the cue happens, because with Spear, that's the reason I've been casering lockers with Spear, you time the chain when the switch would happen, but on this, I believe it's when you react, when you mentally react to the timing of the switch. So the switch happens and then you shake the remote or D-pad. But of course, if you're spamming the D-pad, you don't have to deal with this timing unless you're pro, unless you're good at the game. So you get to pick. I'm not safe setting in time. I don't really like this angle. It's gonna go more like that. Like that. Kind of nudged there because they're penguins, but that can happen as well, so be aware of that. Not loading the save set and then flying off, and also not loading a star. But hitting the iceberg like that can happen. Or the floor. But holding hard right like that, you can do small adjustments like that if you need. This chain is actually very easy right here in my opinion. This is one of the easier chains to get on the track. There's kind of a visual cue. It's going to be around this polygon, and where the road kind of changes from this light to dark color, I suppose. I don't really use that as a visual cue. I prefer audio cues. on this track. So it's usually when you react to the last swish is when you want to chain. So yeah, I'm going to move on. These penguins here on lap 1, I believe if you're very fast, the penguin is going to be like this cycle right here. So you're going to be like this, and that penguin might be in your way. So you don't want to be too far right, or else you're probably going to hit the penguin if you're driving fast and got some chains. So most of the time you want to be left. And we're going to talk about that on lap 2 as well, because there are cycles, and there are also penguin cycles on lap 3. Let me just load something normal. Can I just get triples? Okay, I didn't need to do that because I have infinite shrooms on anyways. So we're just going to go from an ideal alignment. This chain right here happens around here. And now this turn, this is the cave. This is where a lot of people don't know what they're doing. And it makes sense because this cave has some soft drifts. I'm not actually taking it properly, by the way. I'm just showing around. This turn in specific, this angle out of it, a lot of people get wrong. People take this turn wrong, and this frustrates me a lot. And myself, a little bit hypocritical, not anymore though, but I used to take this horribly wrong. But this is very crucial to take right. And there's a very specific way of taking it right. And also this exit right here, so many people go incredibly wide like this when you don't need to. You're just driving so much track. Anyways, I'm going to start off with this turn. There are a few ways to take it. So the way that I like to take this turn, I'm going to actually angle a little bit more left, since it's a little bit more realistic and it's more optimal. It's more what you want. By the way, I shroom before I save state, so I'm at full speed. I actually don't like this still. Usually a little bit tighter. I might actually just drive backwards and start from here. Don't go all day. Yeah, kind of like this. This is more realistic. Yeah, okay, cool. So, the way you want to take these turns, a lot of people are going to bounce on them and wonder why I'm bouncing. It's because you have to do specific soft drift inputs, and your wheelie timing has to be pretty tight. You don't really have much leniency. A lot of people will do this, where they release it, and then they delay like that. If I can actually get the empty, and then delay like that. That is not good. What you want to do for here is, if you're comfortable, you want to do a super soft. Now there are two ways of super softing. You can do, if you look at my input viewer, you can do this input up here, where you go in between this and this. You go kind of like that. That's one way super softing, or you can half stick it like that. This is what I like to do. So this is the first way of doing it. It's very fast, and you don't, if I remember correctly, you don't have to nudge. Let me get a wheelie first. Let me just, yeah, like that. It's a little bit hard from this kind of short distance. I'm going to back up a little bit just to make my life easier, so don't mind me. Kind of like that. And you don't want to insta-wheelie, you just want to wheelie quick. If you insta-wheelie, I mean, you can insta-wheelie like that, but it doesn't really make a difference. I just found more consistency delaying it slightly. But if you delay it too much, if I can actually get to it, you might bounce. No, I didn't bounce there, but sometimes, especially if you rock it, you want to do a quick wheelie like that, because if you don't, then you're going to probably end up bouncing. Kind of like that. You can miss that wheelie. So the second way of taking it, and it's the way that I suggest most people to take it onto maybe mid to a 4 level, is to just nudge, not nudge, nudge, not nudge, notch the soft drifts, and rock a little bit. Rocking here is just a pretty consistent way of charging the MT, not like that. But your main risk of choosing this method is bounces, so you have to be careful. You have to just nail your wheelie timing and get used to the terrain. The terrain is a little bit bouncy. You'd be surprised. It may look flat from here, but it is a little bit bouncy. It slopes a little bit. And you can get very random pockets of airtime, which eats your MT. So just simple notches like this, delay drift it, notch like that. You don't want to be angled too far. If you're angled like kind of like this, it makes this turn a lot more challenging, as you can already see from this angle. Even if you're something more realistic, this is just not optimal. You're just going to not be taking a perfect line, and it's going to make the next turn, this following turn, this turn's very important for time save, it's going to make it a lot harder. So we're going to move on from this turn, and I'm going to try to get an optimal alignment out of it. Something like this, pretty much. So not too far left, not too far right. Now, like the previous turn, there are a few ways to take it. So I'm going to load a save state and explain. So one of the ways, and the way that I like to take it, I like to do my super soft. So like I said it before, you can do this notch. Also, don't forget you can bottom notch it. Personal preference, you do it what's comfortable for you. Like I said, I like to half stick it. I like to up input half stick. That's how I do them. However, sometimes for right soft drifts, I'll do this. I don't really like the bottom notches. Never really got used to them. I don't know how nunchuck plays to it, but besides the point. For this, delay drift, and it's super soft. The fastest way to take it. And you want to not quite insta-wheelie this, but you have to wheelie very quickly. Now, the reason you have to wheelie quickly is, if you may notice, it's like very slightly sloped. I'm not sure if you can see. I'm pretty sure you can. It's pretty apparent about here that it's slightly sloped. It's not perfectly flat. What that means is that when you're taking this turn, if I delay my wheelie, I'm going to try not go for a wheelie here. And try get an example. It's a little bit hard to, kind of like that, like you just see like a little micro bounce, which shouldn't happen. I'm going to wait for the penguin. But that's why wheeling, not instantly, but quicker to instantly is important. This save state's a little bit weird because usually you have the previous turn as a sort of muscle memory setup. But yeah, your angle out of this turn, if I can actually get the MT. Doing this with penguin in the way is not easy. You want to be a little bit wide. Somewhat like this. I wouldn't use any visual reference. I would not use that arrow in the distance. It's definitely not. It's just a feel thing, right? You just want to race a ghost. Get used to it. But that's one way of taking this turn. Like that. I'll just do a few more examples of it. And actually charge the MT. That was not good. That was wide. That was good. That was bad. Too tight. It'd make the next turn horrible. That is also bad. That is good. That's good. Honestly, being wide here, like right there, you saw that bounce. That can happen, and it can kill your run. It's very sad. And it can happen on almost any turn in this cave. But yeah, study runs. That's what I'd advise as well. Study other players' runs, where they have slightly slower, slightly faster times than you. You might learn something. There's another example of the bounce. If you're not careful with your wheelie timing, that could have worked. That was good. Okay, so I've shown one way of doing this turn. Next way of doing this turn I'm going to show is just slightly rocking it. This is what they used to do, I believe, from world records, if I cannot have a penguin in the way. Kind of like that. It's the same as the previous turn, except you have to start charging a little bit earlier, and you see I do like a micro rock. Now, I will see some people, and this is not good, I don't recommend this at all, they're going to notch this entire thing and then have a horrible alignment like that. That is horrible, because this exit is one of the most important exits in the track. This exit right here. You cannot take this wide. You have to take it tight. If you take it wide, I'll try to get an example. So if I do something like this, and then try to take it, let me try to do this. Kind of like that. You try to take it wide. I'm going way, way wide. When you want to be releasing this as tight as possible to this, and you want to be angled more like that. This is way better than being like this. You don't want to fall into that trap when playing this. So this turn right here, this alignment has a lot of leniency. Being wide, even like this is completely fine. Because you can cut in and you can get a very tight exit like that. Exactly like that. So yeah, you can just notch this with soft drifts. You want to soft drift almost all these turns. And you can counter steer a little bit if you're comfortable and you're not really ready to implement super softs, which is totally fine. You can get easily to a forwards mid 41 laps with driving like this. Alright, this turn. This turn is very underrated for how much it saves. This save state might be a little bit tricky, but I'm going to try my best. We'll make do with what we have. But this turn, first of all, it's an insta drift. Insta drift, aka 08 drift, is just drifting and turning at the same time like that. You see my input viewer, drifting and turning at the same time. That's because you don't need to go wider like that. Delay drifting is only crucial if you want to get the MT fast, but this doesn't have quite enough room to charge 2 MTs, but it's also not like you're going to charge the MT and then instantly release it. You're going to wait a little bit. So it's better to insta drift because you're driving less track. So with this MT, this is very important. you can start as wide as you want. It's like objectively better to start tight, but you'd rather be, now this is very important, you'd rather be further right than further left. If you're further left, this turn, this exit is going to be fucked, and this turn is going to be fucked, this alignment's going to be fucked, and charging this empty is going to be fucked. So, yeah, like mentioned before, 08 drift, you want to take it as close as possible to like these polygons right here, where they bend. And this alignment, this alignment can vary a lot. So if you have the proper angle, which is going to be somewhat like this, you can be very close to this rock wall, you can be a little bit out from the rock wall, or you can be very out from the rock wall and have more of like this alignment, which is actually fine. It's slow, but you can salvage it. But this MT release frustrates me so much watching people do this wrong, so I'm going to get a good turn right here. I'm going to actually just do this turn a few times. Also, don't be afraid to do like I just did there. If you're going to go too tight, instead of countersteering, don't be afraid to like notch, kind of like, that was a bad example. It's really hard to do it on command, but kind of like notch between hard left and soft drift. Kind of like that. So doing that is perfectly fine. Just don't like countersteer, because if you countersteer, guess what? You're going to get bounces and you're going to get thrown wide like this, and it's going to be a very bad cave. So I'm just going to do a few turns like this, and you can just analyze input viewer, lines, maybe the exit. It's very important. And also the alignment into the following turn, which we're going to do next. It's a little bit hard to do from a safe state, but I will do some caves after I do this last turn. But that alignment, like, it was a very wide angle, but it was fine. Like I said, a lot of things at this exit can be pretty lenient. Like, that was a little bit wide. I'll try to get a tight one here. Kind of like that. That works as well. All these work, right? So this turn, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this. Let me get a proper save state out of it first. That's good. Okay, so this turn right here. This turn, oh boy. There's so many things that can go wrong. As you can see, it's sloped. It's bouncy. There's tight walls. There are soft drifts. And there's a pretty tight turn right here that you need to get this angle. And this turn is also another turn that a lot of people lose time on, and they don't know why. They'll hit 42-second laps and go like, why aren't I hitting my 41s, man? Well, this is probably a contributing factor. This turn right here is very hard to master. I'm going to go from further back, in fact, so I have more like visual time. We'll go more like this. So this alignment, for example, a little bit bouncy, but it's fine. This turn has a few ways of taking it. So you're going to see right here, excuse the message in the bottom. What I like to do often is insta-drift, and I like to soft-drift insta-drift, aka 08 drift. Soft-drift 08 drift, so I don't like hard ride it like that and notch, or do that. That can work, but I like to do it in notches, kind of like that. Like you see my input viewer, how when I initiate the drift, I'm doing the instant drift, but I'm doing it in a soft drift input. So my top right notch. And I'm going to counter steer a little bit. So this is a very rhythm-based turn. And one thing like this is that you have to learn how to do this turn properly, and you have to ball it. You can't do any of this, like where you're kind of like doing that, because that's when you fuck up. See right there? That is a prime example. So many people do that, and I see so many people like just like bounce like a shit ton on this turn. Like even if you're soft drifting, you can get bounces. And they're gonna like complain about like missing the wheelie. Like I'll try to do it here. Like if you're rocking and you miss the wheelie like that, you go like, why am I missing my wheelie? Well, it's because it's rhythm based, and the terrain is very specific. You have to play this to understand it really, but it's kind of a feel thing. And you don't want to insta wheelie. I mean, insta wheeling can work. I'll try actually do first frame wheelie. Like that can work, but it's not necessary, right? Only like applicable case where insta wheelies are necessary is for tight turns like MC3. You want to insta wheelie a lot of the turns there, but this not so much. But you don't want to delay it either. If you're delaying it, you're throwing away a lot of time save. It's very messy and it's not fast. Like that, it also makes your angle for this turn bad. So I suggest for this turn, if you're comfortable just doing soft drift, I believe you can super soft it like that with an insta wheelie. I'm gonna try that for a little bit. It doesn't save much though. Probably not worth going for it. But yeah, for now, and for most people learning this track, going for maybe their first 205 or 204 even, or maybe you're going for a mid 204 range, which is where I'm sitting at right now, you want to be doing this for the cave exit. That's what I recommend if you want to try something else and it works, as long as it isn't slow. If you race a ghost and it's fine, like if you have an Argent cave, then, I mean, if you set the times you're setting and you set the laps, then it should be fine. But for consistency, I recommend going with this. So this kind of right, left tap, right. And staying close to this wall as well is important if you want to get it fast. If you see me on my Sherbet glitch runs, I might play it a little bit conservative, kind of like that. It's so I don't miss the wheelie, because when you're playing Sherbet glitch and you're on nunchuck, shit like that can happen, like with that bounce, and you can miss the wheelie because you're nervous. So if you ever see me do this, it doesn't lose much, but it's not the fastest for no glitch. So I'm going to show you the fastest way of doing it that is also pretty consistent, like this. Right there, I got a bounce. Sometimes you do bounce. Another bounce right there. Maybe this is a pretty hard turn, and it is rhythm based, so it takes time to master this timing. Now this angle, I believe that's enough on that turn, by the way. So I'm going to move on to here. In fact, before we do, I'm going to demonstrate an entire cave. So I'm going to drive backwards, and I'm going to do a few caves, and just from an analytical point of view, I'm going to point out what was good, what was bad, and explain some of the inputs that I'm doing for each case scenario, because as you can see, with it turns, like 3 turns like this that are hella bouncy, there's going to be some variables, and it's not going to be the same every time. Yeah, doing this in a save state also doesn't make it easier. So I notched there, going to do my super soft, never mind, you're going to hit the penguin. I drifted too early, so I had to do that. And the penguin scared the shit out of me. Okay, this angle is really not working. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to go more like this. There's the super soft, quick wheelie, super soft, quick wheelie, tap right, hard left, a little bit wide, can do my rhythm, and insta wheelie. Not insta wheelie, but quick wheelie. I hit the wall there, didn't really turn enough in time. The save set's a little bit wide, so I had to rock there, super soft. Could have very good angle, hard left. Don't forget, you can also do a spin drift on that turn. Let me get to it, in fact. This turn right here, if you have a tight angle, you can do a spin drift. So if you're kind of like this, you can actually hold top right soft drift the entire time, but you can also opt for a spin drift kind of like that. And it might help with bounces. Just experiment around, see what you like. Everyone's different. A lot of people drive this track differently. I'm going to wheelie tilt here at the beginning so I have a more favorable angle like this. So that's not good. You know, I'm actually just going to start from the beginning. I'm just going to reset. It's really hard to do everything with a save state. So, but it's my way of explaining, the best way that I've found to explain. And you can also get to watch a Sherbet, a little bit of Sherbet driving. I'm going to wheelie to it here, spin drift, shroom hop left, wheelie. Yeah, dude, I need to... I've not played Magi in a hot minute, that's why I'm missing a lot of those chains, but here we get to do some cave. Super soft, quick wheelie. A little bit harder than a super soft. Wide angle, so... I'm going to do an insta wheelie. I need to stop hitting that wall. Super soft, another super soft, wide angle, this is good, tight, tight, tight. Soft drift, nudge, soft drift. And this exit, you actually want to nudge to make it tight. So I'm going to talk about that, I'll expand in a little bit, but I'm going to do a few more caves. And you can just watch the input viewer and just pick up anything you might see that might help. I tried to be too aggressive on that wheelie turn. But yeah, as you can see, this super soft is not easy. None of these are easy. All these turns can have something go horribly wrong on, so practice is very important. Nudging there. Nudging there again. Didn't hold a full super soft. Do a spin drift this time to take it tighter. I didn't hold the MT long enough there, and I got bad bounces. Super soft, quick wheelie. Super soft, quick wheelie. Wide, this is very good. Tight, hard right, stay closer to the wall, and nudge at the end for a tight exit. Two super soft with a good wide angle. I can wheelie earlier. I'm going to do a spin drift, take it a little bit wider, cut in tighter. This turn is going to be perfect. So this turn is a little bit of a weird one. The MT is what pisses me off when I see a lot of people do it wrong, so I'm going to try my best to explain the best way to do it. It actually starts at this turn though. Actually mind me for a second. I'm going to have a quick water break. Alright. With this turn, the angle exiting it is pretty important. So if we're going to take this turn normally, this is going to be the angle. Kind of like this. I'm just safe stating so I can demonstrate it. This is the angle. Now this is not a good angle. Why is it not a good angle? Because you're starting wide, and when you cut in, you're more likely to get bounces, and you're also driving more track. As you can see, this turn right here, if you ever watch the world records, sure, they may bounce on this exit, but it doesn't eat the MT charge too much. And if you get a flat one, a wide flat one isn't faster than a tight turn like this, a tight early entry that has bounces. This will always win, because look how much of the track you're driving. This is not even an exaggeration of how much any release like about here, compared to going very wide, and then, oh, I charged my MT, but your MT charges here, but you have to hold it, and then you release it at the same place. The only difference is this person took it way tighter, literally in a line like this. So, how can you achieve that? Wheelie tilts. Doesn't lose much because it's magi. This save state's a little bit tight for wheelie tilts because you might see I might hit the wall. But anyways, on this wheelie tilt, you can do a few taps if you'd like, or just nudges. Honestly, anything. It's very important to take this tight. You almost want to be hitting this iceberg right here when you're taking this exit. I've had failures where I've hit this. This is important. You want to take this very tight, and you want to insta-drift it as well, because you're going to release it at the same spot every time, so you might as well take it tighter. I'm actually going to save state here to make my life easier. Yeah, this is good. Is it though? No, it's not. Don't mind me. I'm going to go back a little bit. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Like I said, I might do these weekly, depending on how they're received. And if people want to see more, I'm more than happy to help people. Anyways, this turn right here. This penguin can be a bitch sometimes. Now, I believe the pace is a 205, like 0.1, and a 204.9, 205.5. Anything from that mid to low 205 range, this penguin is going to be a bitch. Because the penguin will be diving in like this. So at that pace, I believe at like a 205.4 or 205.5, you have to go around the penguin. So what does that look like? It just means holding left slightly earlier and just going around. This is what we do in the glitch runs, because as you can imagine, when you make a glitch once every hour, the penguin will be going like this, by the way. If you're on a very slow pace, you can go behind it, like behind my bike, and you can go inside the wall in the penguin. But most of the time when you're on world record pace, you have to go outside the penguin. So if you want examples of that, they're going to be in some of the runs on the leaderboards. And some ghosts and some best paces. Anyways, this turn for no glitch, that's what we're primarily focused on. You can insta-drift it or delay drift it. Insta-drift's a little bit better. It's a little bit situational, but it's the same song and dance at the end of the day. You're going to be charging the MT at the same spot, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to do a few examples at the turn right here. And also you want to do a mix of soft drifts, hard right, and hard lefts. And an early MT release is important. This is really a lot different than what it's actually going to be because of save states. You know, I'm going to take this turn again, in fact. Just so I can... Don't want to demonstrate something that's not realistic. And then... yeah, make it harder for me to explain it. So I'm going to do this. Save state here. Just re-wheelie like that. Yeah, this is way better. Take it tight to the iceberg. M2 release. I have to wheelie before resave stating, and it feels really weird. Okay, 1 second. There we go. Alright. Something like this. Penguin's there, but we're fine. Like mentioned, that penguin can be a cunt sometimes. Just like that. It's really hard to kind of pinpoint an MT release timing because it's going to differ from how you charge the MT. But you can just look at the inputs and just try to pick up on this general line. It might not look like it saves, but it definitely saves over. I'll show you what a lot of other people do. You're going to see a lot of people doing this. And then release it early. That does not save. That's not good. You want to take this tight. Just take it tight. Like this. Close to the wall. Early MT release. Hold right during your MT boost. This alignment. This alignment is very infamous. It's failed a lot of people, including myself, and many world record runs. Because these penguins right here. Now, these penguins aren't actually that big of an obstacle as you might think. Now, why is that? It's because when you take this turn perfectly, these penguins are actually, so when they're right here, if you take this turn absolutely spotless, which beware is very, very difficult, not even world record takes the turns perfectly on any of the 3 laps from what I've seen. Can be a little bit faster, but yeah. Long story short, if you take a perfect last turn while these penguins are here, you're going to cut inside. However, the chance of you doing that is very low, and especially after a run, at the end of a lap, maybe at the end of a PBS, you're going to be a little bit nervous. So you can expect a bounce sometimes if you don't take this turn properly. And don't forget, you do also have to chain. And you want to start your drift a little bit after you chain. So I'm just going to demonstrate this turn first, and then I'm going to demonstrate the sequence from the cave exit to the end. So from here, it's just an instant drift, same physics as the first turn. That was bad with bounces. Snap right, snap left. Got bounces there, which is not good. Similarly, apologies. Similarly to the cut, you're going to want to have the exit be very close to this ice crack. If anything, you want to be on it sometimes, because it's driving less of the track. If you're very wide out here, you're setting yourself up for a worse first turn, because if you're further this way, then you can start this drift a lot more comfortably. SP save states are very weird. But getting a bounce there is pretty hard to avoid. I mean, a lot of people mess this up. See, that was a very good last turn. Besides this exit, I should have held left in my MT boost a little bit longer to go closer to this corner. But in general, if you're not bouncing on this last turn, you're doing good. That's good. And you just want to instant MT like that. Doing that. That is perfect. Running over that curb is best case scenario. That was also perfect, besides the exit. But yeah, it's an 08 drift. Tap right, briefly, and this angle is perfect. So, that is lap 1, pretty much. Lap 2, lap 3 are similar, but I'm going to demonstrate the first 2 turns of, or really the first turn and a half, you could call it, of lap 2, lap 3, and yeah. Should be wraps. So, first of all, I'm going to demonstrate a cave incomplete, a cave exit to the finish line incomplete. So I'm going to start from here, in fact. Also, if you guys are enjoying this, let me know, and I will be sure to do more if people find this useful. That's a very tight alignment. That's why I mentioned before on glitch runs we don't go inside of that. That was good last turn. You might even want to wheelie to it here sometimes. It depends. I'm going to do a few more of these. That was bad. I just quickly want to point out. That was bad. You might not realize why, but because this exit was bad. It had a good line, but you want to exit very tight to this. You want to exit as tight as possible. It sets you up for a really good right to left angle in this last turn. Because if you exit really well like this, you're going to see what happens. The angle for this last turn is horrible. And you get a way higher chance of bouncing. Even if you don't bounce, you're going to go all the way around like this, you're going to buckle, and you're going to finish like this. It's not pretty. That was better. Gonna have to wheelie to it right a little bit. Chain. Bounces. In that case of bounces right there, you saw I delayed my wheelie. That's because if you try insta-wheelie with bounces, you're probably gonna miss. So, it's better to delay it for safety. But, try not to get bounces. I want to highlight one more thing as well. Kind of just did it there, but you see the delayed wheelie, curb ride, perfect. Perfect angle. One thing I wanted to highlight real quick. I'll do one more cave and then stop at the end. This is good, tight, perfect. A little bit wide. Right here. So, one thing you can do, if you're at more of the 205 level, maybe low 205, even if you're going for a 204, you can do this, is taking the turn. I'm actually going to save state and get a slightly better angle. So with this turn, if you want to take a little bit safe, you can go around it. That doesn't lose much, believe it or not. It saves over bouncing, but it loses over taking it. Like, it would save over that, for example, but it wouldn't save over... I can get a perfect one. It wouldn't save over that, for example. But it is also okay to, like, kind of like baby it, kind of like that. I do that on my glitch times, my glitch attempts. It's just a little bit more consistent. And it makes the setup a little bit easier because I have a setup into the glitch flap 3 where I'll intentionally cancel my wheelie. And I prefer the angle and I prefer the wheelie setup compared to like going for a big one, pretend I bounced there, and then having to like delay my wheelie and then having to cancel it at a different audio time. It's all that. But that's glitch. We don't care about that. We care about no glitch. But taking baby turns like that is very, very viable to getting good laps. You can take the big boy turns like that, but you're also risking a bounce. But yeah, with the penguins here like this, like those penguins, you're going to have to kind of ball it. You can't really go for the safe turn here with the penguins on the way, because you're just going to simply hit them. I'll give an example. If you try to go safe, you're going to either hit the first one, or you're just going to go too wide and hit this one. So, if the penguins are there, if you're on the time trial, you're going to... That was literally perfect, wow. You want to take it like that. If you're online, I mean, this isn't for online players, so what are you doing here? Go play some lounge. But yeah, that's essentially Sherbet Land in a lap. But we're not done, because we still have to do this. With this alignment, I'm going to save state here, this is perfect. You want to be as close to this curve as possible, as mentioned before. Not like that, you don't want to be falling off. But we want to have this sort of angle into the lap 3. Now why? Because this right here. Sorry, I'm just going to have some water. One moment. Because if you remember from lap 1, I mentioned how you have to go close to this polygon. With an angle like this, that becomes a lot easier. So you can be like this, and essentially you get a lot more lenience with this first turn compared to if you were more like this, for example. You have to hold the drift longer, and your like chances of bouncing are a lot higher. Like that, for example. But if you're going from the save state with this angle, you don't have to drift as long. You can start this drift at a normal time. You're most likely not going to bounce. Even that micro bounce didn't lose much. It's better than getting sent in the air and losing 0.2. You can also take baby turns like that if you're not comfortable with taking the big boy cut. So, personal preference, depends what time you're at. But I suggest learning these, because they're not as hard as they seem. Study input viewer. And it should be good. But that's essentially Sherbet Land in a nutshell. I will mention one more thing though. I'm just going to do this a few times. Oh yeah, you also have to chain there as well. Don't forget that. And try actually go for the chain. The chain saves a fair amount if you get it. If you, yeah, every race it goes, that gets the chain and you miss it, it's going to lose a lot of time. And to touch on one more thing with this turn, if you want to play it very safe, you can do this. you can go a lot wider like that and start your drift early. It's got a lower chance of bouncing, but you're driving more of the track compared to like doing something like this and then just getting a really good first turn like that with no bounces, where you drive less track and you don't bounce. But if you're nervous, you can take it kind of like wider like that. We do this in the glitch runs, and the reason we do that is because our angle from this turn is literally like this, because, well, the way that I do the turnaround at least, we literally have to do this, or else we're just going to bounce on the first turn. We have to have that sort of... I'll actually do an example real quick. Let's go from here. It's because we actually have to do this. And then we have to take poor first turns. That was actually not that bad, but you get the point. What was the one thing? Alright, what I wanted to mention also, lap 3 on the finish line. I'm not sure if the correct or false information, but I do remember, I'm not sure who it was who brought it up, but wheelie tilting on this finish line, I believe is okay if you do baby taps, but not for the entire finish line, only if you're finishing very far right. It's because it's slanted. As you can see, this finish line is slanted compared to the last turn. So the further left you finish, the better. That's why all the tasses end like fucking all the way over here and everything. It's faster to end over there, essentially. Keep that in mind on your last turn on lap 3. You want to literally ride this shit. And wheelie tilting here, I mean, it's optional. I still have no idea if it's faster, to avoid getting held responsible for anyone throwing like a 204 or something. I just suggest holding A into the finish line. But yeah, that's Sherbet Land in a nutshell. This was a pretty long video. I actually really enjoyed doing this, so let me know if you want to see more. I don't mind doing this at all. I love teaching, I love helping, I'm very passionate about it, and this is my way of giving back to the people, because I do get questions a lot about, like, can I have help on this track, or how do you take this turn? I'll be putting these out, depending on how this is received, maybe once a week. Depends if I have time. I still have school. I'm occupied in that sense. But yeah, I appreciate you for watching. Share this with your friends, anyone that needs help. And yeah, I'll be back later. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.